You've got a big date coming up with a pretty lady, but what's the right way to greet a girl on the first date?
You actually showed up.
Oh my god, I love you. You're so pretty, and I bet you're so smart too.
A good evening, my lady.
Sup, girl? Real talk, none of those ways are right. If you want to find out exactly how to greet a girl on the first date, stay tuned because we're going to talk about the right way to do it, what not to do, and how you can make the process much smoother. Stay tuned. What's going on? My name's Jason with healthyframework.com, and as mentioned today, we're going to be talking about how to greet a girl on the first date. Now, before we get started, two quick things. Number one, if you're enjoying the video, you like the content, if you could hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, it really does help the channel out quite a bit. And then number two, if you haven't found that special lady yet to take on a first date, we've got a link in the description box below to our best dating apps page, which has got a ton of free trials, a ton of resources, a ton of information to help you find that special lady to take out on a first date the right way. With all that taken care of, let's go ahead and dive into this. So the first rule of how to greet a girl on the first date is do not shake hands, right? Shaking hands is something you do in a work environment, something you do when you meet your parents' friends, and it might seem like something small, but starting the date that way sets a very unromantic tone. So, if that's what you're used to when you're meeting people, if you don't date a lot, you're going to have to try and break your habit of sticking that hand out for the handshake because it's just awkward and it really doesn't set the right tone for the first date. So if we're not shaking hands, then what is it that we're physically doing when we meet a girl on the first date? And that brings us to our second point, the hug, right? So personally, I'm a big advocate of a hug as a way to greet a girl on the first date because it's something that can be kind of between like a friend and also be a little romantic in a sense, but it's something that a lot of people are used to. Now, that being said, should you hug or should you not hug when you greet a girl on the first date? It's going to come down on a case-by-case basis. If for some reason you believe that the girl's a little standoffish, she's a little uncomfortable, then that's not something that you're going to do. But I think in most cases, you're probably going to be all right with it. The one caveat to that is that if you do go in for the hug and you see she pulls away or, does anything like that that kind of warrants that she doesn't want that sort of physical contact yet, then that's where you draw the line, jump ship. Don't try and just keep coming forward because that is awkward and not respectful of her personal space. Now, if you do decide to hug, there's a couple things that are important to it. Number one is commit to it, right? So don't kind of be like standing back doing, one of these things and you end up just standing there like this, right? If you're going to go for the hug, go for the hug. And again, if she gives you some nonverbal cues or even some verbal cues that she's not interested, that's when you're going to stop it. But if you're going for it, commit to it unless that occurs. The second question there is what type of hug, and what I really like is the kind of what I call the half hug. It's the friend hug. It's not this long romantic, one of these kind of things. It's just kind of the half side, hey, you're initiating a little bit of physical contact. It shows that you're excited to meet them, and it kind of sets that tone that's way different from that handshake tone, but it's not uncomfortable or off-putting. Now, the third rule on how to greet a girl on the first date is a very important one. Make eye contact. And before I go any further, I just want to reiterate to some of you out there that the eyes are located here. They're not located anywhere else on the body, right? And while it might be tempting to look elsewhere, especially if she comes and she looks beautiful and she's dressed to the nines, which I hope she is, earn those brownie points, keep that eye contact, because there's nothing more off-putting than making a girl feel like she's a piece of meat or some sort of sexual icon or anything like that. Keep the eye contact, not this, creepy, just, glued like this, you can glance away and stuff, but the idea is to kind of keep everything above this line here. Now, number 4, this is an important one. Well, all of these are important, but this one is especially important. We actually, in the description box below, not only do we have a link to that best dating apps page, but we've also got a link to a separate article specifically about this topic because it's that important. And number 4 is greet her on time, right? Being 5 minutes late might not seem like that big of a deal to you, but for some people it's very important, and it should be important. It should be important to you that the person that you're on a date with shows up on time, because what that does is it's an intangible way of demonstrating that they're important to you, that you care about this, that you showed up on time. And a great strategy to do this is if the date's at 8 o'clock and it takes you 15 minutes to get there, you should not be leaving your house at 7:45. The absolute latest you should be leaving your house is 7:30. And if you really want to be smart, maybe leave like 7:15. That way, if you get there and the place is somehow closed or there's some special event going on that's going to hinder the date, then that way you can text the girl, you can call her, and you guys can kind of call an audible. And then again, that's going to demonstrate to her that you got there early and that you really do care and you are committing some time to this. So make sure that you're on time, and just remember that 5 minutes late, 2 minutes late, 30 seconds late, all of that is not on time. On time is being there on time, and to not get into any cheesy cliche military phrases. If you are just getting there on time, it's not usually the best strategy. And number 5, which is the last rule we want to get into before we talk about what you should actually say and how to make the process easier, is one simple word: smile, right? If you come up and you say all the right things, you do all the right things, but you just look like you've had the worst day and you're just, real sad and depressed looking, people aren't going to want, she's not going to want to be around you, right? It's not going to put off that right image. Later on in the dating cycle, you can have bad days and things like that. But when it's the first date, you got to bring that A game, and that starts with a smile. So we've talked about what you're physically supposed to do when you greet a girl for the first time on a date, and what you're not supposed to do. But what I'd like to talk about now is what you're supposed to say. Now, these tips and thoughts here are assuming that you've actually never met this person in real life before, right? So this is somebody that you've been set up with, or somebody you've met through a dating app or dating website, which is probably going to be the majority of the dates that you go on, unless it's someone like that you've worked with and you've asked out. But so these are assuming that. And actually what I've done is I've written down 3 specific lines, and you can literally, these aren't going to be just like, oh, say something like this. You could actually take these 3 lines verbatim, and these can be like your go-to. And unless you're going on like hundreds of first dates, or you're going on the first date with the same person again, which will never happen, it's completely fine. You can use these over and again. So let me read these real quick, and then I'll talk about why these are good. And then we'll go from there. So the first one is, you must be Jane. Hi, it's nice to meet you. Super simple, right? The second one, Jane, hey, it's Jason. It's awesome to finally meet you. And the last one is, hey, you made it. It's great to meet you in person. Now, these are super simple lines, and there's absolutely no reason for you to complicate this. It's just literally you're accomplishing basically 2 things here. You're confirming that you're meeting with the right person, right? That way you're not just kind of like awkwardly going up to somebody and introducing themselves and using your opening line and all this, but it's not the person you're on a date with. And that gets even more awkward if that person is somewhere else watching. So you're confirming that you're on a date with the right person, and you're showing that you're excited there to meet them. So, take those 3 phrases, and I'm going to go ahead and type those in the description box below as well. And just use those, word for word. And if you need to practice them, if you're someone who's real shy, go for it. It's fine. But these are perfect, and they will work forever. You never need to replace them. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about today is I want to give you 3 tips on how to make this entire process go smoother, right? How to make greeting a girl on the first date basically easier. And before I get into that, I just want to reiterate, if you're enjoying the content, I would love it if you could hit that thumbs up. That way more people can see this. And if you were really enjoying the content and you want to get more of it, because we're going to be continually pushing out a lot of great stuff, hit that subscribe button. That would be great. Now, let's go ahead and dive into these 3 tips. Tip number 1, give specific instructions about where you're going to meet, right? So let's say you're going to a bar to grab drinks. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to meet you at Sparky's bar, at 7 o'clock. Take it easy, right? Because then now you guys are doing that awkward wandering around thing, right? A better thing to say would be, hey, I'll meet you at Sparky's bar. I'll wait for you out front. There's a bench to the left of the door. I'll be waiting for you there in a blue shirt, right? What that does is that makes, it gets rid of all the worry of, are we going to see each other? How are we going to link up when we get there? And that not only relieves some of that awkwardness and worry for you, but it's also going to take some of that off of her plate as well, which is again going to just kind of set the great tone as well, which also brings me to like a little caveat as well. If you are meeting somewhere, it's better to meet outside than to go inside, because then now if you meet inside, she's having to do one of these like, I got a blue shirt over, like that's just awkward, makes her feel awkward. Everybody in the bar, restaurant, show, whatever you're going to already knows now, oh, this one's on a date, right? Instead, meet them outside, and then you guys can go in together. If you got to poke your head in and put your name on a list, If you didn't, call and get a reservation beforehand, completely fine. Just go ahead and do that and then pop yourself back outside. Tip number 2 is know something about the place that you're going to. Hey, you made it. I'm excited that you're here. Have you been here before? Did you know that Sparky's Bar is used to be called Johnny's, but then it burnt down in an electrical fire, so they changed the name to Sparky's, right? Having something like that in your pocket allows you to kind of alleviate any awkward pauses, right? Instead of this, hey, it's great to meet you here. Glad you made it. So we should go inside now, right? It gets rid of all that because you've got something ready in case you need it. Now, and also just remember, by the way, that a conversation is two people, right? You might be like, hey, I'm so glad you made it, etc. And then, she just starts breaking in, oh yeah, I'm so excited to meet you, blah, 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 X, Y, Z, yada, 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 right? But this at least gives you even more confidence to know that there's not going to be that real awkward pause there right at the beginning. And the third and final tip that I want to give you about how to greet a girl on a first date, and this is something that can carry on through the entire date, is be confident, right? She already agreed to go out with you, right? So if you're someone who's shy and you're kind of nervous and all this, you got to embrace that fact, right? She's already said, yes, I'm going to go out with you, right? So embrace that point. Let it help build your confidence, so that way, you don't go in there and it's just like, oh, hey, it's great to meet you, right? You go in there and you're not egotistical, you're not over the top, but you're confident, right? And women love that, and it's gonna do great for the date. It's gonna make that first interaction much better and much smoother. So this brings us to the end of the video. I just want to thank you again for taking a minute to watch. Again, if you don't have somebody to take on a first date, I do have that link in the description box below to our best dating apps page, which has got a ton of resources, free trials, all that good stuff to help you out. And again, if you like the video, thumbs up, subscribe, you know the drill. Again, my name is Jason with Healthy Framework, and thanks for spending some time with me today.